Alright, what's up guys? So today we are going to be doing creative warping, and this is a tool in Photoshop that does alter your image, but it can provide a really cool effect. So we have our one base image, 2, 3, and then we have a series of photos that will make up a panorama that is going to need some warping to fix it. So this is a really cool technique. It does take a little bit to master, but the more you play with it, the more you understand how it works, you can really get a lot out of it and really enhance a photo. So first thing I'm going to do is a panorama, and I shot this not the best I could, not on purpose, it just so happened, and when I processed it, the panorama did need some fixing in warping in Photoshop, so I'm going to process it in Lightroom and then pull it into Photoshop to fix it for the first image. So here's a photo of Monument Valley. I've got a slight Lightroom edit on, as you can see, and I'm just going to filter through these images. Alright, so that is all of them. So pretty easy to make a panorama, and you can do this handheld if you have a regular shutter speed, but if you have a slow shutter like this, where I was doing 25 seconds, as you can see up here, you're going to need a tripod. But either way, you're going to click your first image, click your last image, shift click to highlight them all, and there's 17 of them. And then we're going to do control click, photo merge, panorama. And now what Lightroom is going to do, it's going to take all the information that you provided it, and there are 3 methods to make your panorama: spherical, cylindrical, and perspective. They all do it slightly different. For the most part, you will get the same result. I probably use spherical about 90% of the time and cylindrical about 10% of the time. I don't think I've ever used perspective. And you're almost always going to have to do some cropping, and sometimes you will have to do some warping like today. So Lightroom does give you the option. You can see how it came out here. It does give you the option to do a warp on the boundary, and what it'll do is it will stretch the photo, and you can do this as much or as little as you'd like. So I'm just going to go all the way, and as you can see, this shot I should have moved down a little bit, as with this shot, because it curves up on the ends, but I'm going to keep this for now. I'm going to merge this photo, and now it says photo merge added to task. So up here you can see it's creating your panorama, and this does take a second, but it's because it's a lot of information to process, and this will be a very high megapixel and photo sized image. So once this is done, we will see how it looks once it's pulled up, and then we are going to pull it into Photoshop. Alright guys, so it is finished. Now we come down here, check it out. And it did, for the most part, do a really good job. Just the ends where I messed up in camera. But if you zoom in, you can see it still, I mean, it clearly has some grain because it was a nighttime photo, but it has really good quality throughout the image. So we're going to edit this in Photoshop. Alright guys, so for this, I'm going to create a background layer because I want to be able to see the before and after of what we do. So I'm going to do Command J, zoom in just so this gets everything showing. And now if you come up here to edit, transform, and warp, it is going to bring up a grid. So how this works is, if I want to pull this down, if I stay on this corner, for the most part, unless I do some extreme warping, these top 3 blocks and these left 3 blocks will not be touched. So it's going to be using all of the information in these 4 to merge it. And you can see as I pull this down, undo that, you can see it's just using this information here, and it's keeping the photo relatively in the same area. Same goes for here. If we do this, it's going to be using everything around it, but not the top 3 up here. So you can see that. Put that back to how it was. So that's how the warping works. So the same goes if you want to make a selection and then warp from there. So let's say I really just want to focus on this area. And starting here, the horizon is fine. It's here and over where it doesn't look too great. So let's just pick that area. And now if I come up to edit, transform, warp, a new grid pops up, and the same rules apply, kind of, where it's not going to use so much information over here if I just pull this guy. And I don't really want to affect much of the photo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to really stretch this and try to make this an even and flat horizon. And the goal is to not affect this or this, because otherwise you're going to have to blend the photo. And with layer mask, it's not that hard, but it's just a pain. So let's click enter, because I think that looks pretty good. Command D to deselect. And now let's see if we can notice any apparent lines that got stretched from warping. I don't see anything. So it looks like we did a pretty good job on that one. And the horizon, pretty straight on this. So let's do a before and after. So you can see before there was just kind of a little angle going up that you could tell is off horizon, but after it looks very even, and it looks like this mountain just has a little bit of warp to it naturally. So I'm going to do Command J, because each time I do this I want it to be on a different layer in case I need to delete anything. I'm going to make one more selection of just this, and I'm just going to try to pull down the right side of that a little bit more. So pull up the warp. Let's just pull this guy down and maybe even out of the image. But now you see that pulled down, so we need to put that back. So let's do enter, Command D, so we can see our photo. And now there's no curve at all, and we even made this flat, so you can kind of tell that the horizon is super even, but we did stretch the top right here, and that is no good. So I think the mountains look fine, however that part does not. So I'm going to put a layer mask on, and with a black brush at maybe 25% opacity, I'm just going to feather this together, because the stars I still want to hold true to themselves. I'm just trying to fix the horizon. And there's a little bit of texture in these clouds, so I'm getting away with this pretty easily. So there we go. The horizon is fixed over here. And now I'm going to take these layers, Command G, group them, and you can see before and after. Before and after. So the horizon is fixed. And now we just need to work on this side. So I'm going to do a merge visible layer, Command Option Shift E. And for this, it starts here, the upward angle, but to the right is fine. So I'm going to make a selection. I'm just going to include all of this. Come up to Edit, Transform, Warp. And I don't really like this sign anyway, so we might even be able to just get that out of there. So let's stretch that down. So I'm going to try to pull that side down, but then pull that back up, just because I don't like that angle in it. Pull this down a little bit. Let's click enter. Command D so we can see. First, check if there's any blend lines that we stretched, and I don't see any, so we're good. And I think that actually in one pass fixed the horizon just fine. So before, really harsh angle, after, really nice. So I'm going to do one more merge visible layer, Command Option Shift E, and hide these. Now you can see before everything has, like, the horizon is a nice U shape, and now after we have a flat horizon. And now that this image is fixed, just for purposes of detail and what I took this panorama for, I am going to crop this photo. So when I shot this, I was looking at the Milky Way with my Sky Guide app, and you could just see it with the naked eye. So I knew that I had the 3 monuments and the Milky Way right above it, and I had planned for that. But I also knew I wanted to take a panorama of this, and just because I knew I wasn't going to have the chance to come back here, I started way more to the left than I knew that I needed. And I also went way further to the right than I knew I needed, because for panoramas, you always want more information because you can never take it back. So I took this knowing I was going to crop it. So once I have my horizon fixed, which we do, I am just going to crop around the Milky Way. And actually, I want to include these clouds, so I'm going to redo that. And I want the Milky Way to be nice and centered. I actually don't think I need all of that. I think that looks good. So now I'm going to click C, and that's a preview. Enter, enter. And now here is our new photo. And now there's no weird horizons or anything we need to fix. Everything looks good. Lastly, I'm going to do one more merge visible, Command Option Shift E. And now all I'm going to do, take the spot healing brush tool, and as you can see, there were a lot of planes passing through the image. So I'm just going to fix that up. Any streaks, those are all planes just getting in the image. So that is everything. And I'm super happy with this. I think this panorama came out super clean. I think to the average viewer looking at this, you would never be able to tell that I had an off-axis panorama or that I warped it to fix it.